I can
That's
say.
very
So that's how I
essential
say.
because women's
Yeah.
mental health has been neglected ever since, you know, a
Yeah, it has been
category
neglected a lot.
neglected and a category so much taken for granted. Even though we created our own niche, we created our, I mean, of course, last so many years, women have been striving to
Yeah,
create their own
a
niche and,
kind of,
you know, but yes, by and large, their mental health has been taken for granted. Even, you
yeah,
know, even if you look at a woman in a menopausal age, when it is the most uh, critical point of her life, where her mood swings and mental health goes for a fixer, that is the time I think a lot of compassion and understanding
yeah,
is needed,
because women go so
especially by
many
the
biological and hormonal changes throughout the life. We go so many hormonal changes, and that is directly related with mood swings and as you are talking. But
yes,
but the thing is, like, starting from the budgetary allocations to the concern in the research, everywhere you will find that women mental health issues are being cornered. That is
absolutely. This
because of
was
our
something which,
cultural social
yeah,
position.
right. This was something the most basic I pointed out, where I think this is something extremely from near to far, as they say. Of course, there are bigger and very big
Bigger
issues which they
issues.
have been facing, but this is something in the qualified families as well. It is, you know, sometimes taken, it goes unnoticed, it goes unguarded, and yeah, that
Right,
is
sure.
wonderful,
Makes sense.
excellent. So it would be wonderful interacting with you during the show.
Mhm.
And the time is, I think, what? Yeah, we
Yes,
can
five
we,
four.
Supriya?
Yeah, we'll start now. So, the mind
Are
is
we live?
the software to the hardware we call the brain. If there exists a solid structure to protect the hardware, then there must exist the need for understanding of a similar structure to protect the software. World Health Organization's division of mental health pinned down stigma as the single largest cause that blocks progress in treating mental health issues. The greatest hurdle in providing people that suffer from mental illness with appropriate care and making them live in a community is stigmatization. Yes, mental health is our topic for today. A topic that has remained a taboo for a very long time, but one that needs to be brought at the center stage. With the rising tide of the new age with focus on self-care and self-improvement, mental health has been a steady surfer. Mental illness, as a lot of us might know, may not always be overt and they don't always have to show a physical sign, but definitely they are a valid physical ailment. The need of the hour is not only information, but accurate information from experienced professionals equipped with the vast knowledge about the intricacies of mind. Hello, everyone. I am Supriya Kapoor from Born Again. As our small step towards breaking the taboo around the mental health, we bring to you this insightful webinar to decode the aspects of practicing mental well-being and will provide an expert view into becoming more aware of mental health. Dear attendees, I kindly request you to keep the audio on mute. We also request all the attendees except for the panel discussion members to switch off their videos so that we do not face any lag in streaming. Kindly post questions on the chat box addressing the name and mentioning the name of the speaker. We are also live on Facebook. So if you happen to view our webinar there, please feel free to do so. We have with us today Mrs. Manju Rana, who is the principal and director of St. Anandram Jaipuria School. With 29 years in the education industry, she has been the face of changes, making learning more application than just theories. Her charisma, zeal, and attention to details has helped her as a CBSC master trainer, mentor, and a city coordinator. Her contribution towards students' overall development has inspired many educational institutions and have put a greater emphasis on the mental health awareness. Next, we have with us Mr. Jitin Chawla, who is the Director for Center for Career Development in Delhi. He's the co-founder of Center for Career Development and made his idea into reality by aiding brilliant minds to correct path. Mr. Chawla's creative mindset, influential personality reflected by his thoughts, and passion for career counseling has made it possible for him and his team to conduct several workshops and career fairs in numerous schools and colleges. As a member of National Career Development in the USA and many such organizations internationally, his guidance is goal specific and covers larger areas of possibilities. Our panel also consists today of Dr. Vibha Sharma, who is an associate professor at the Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences in Delhi. Being a clinical psychologist for more than 20 years now, Dr. Sharma has had her name in numerous national and international journals, books, and has achieved 5 awards from various organizations. She has presented over 60 papers in national and international conferences, including the annual conference of British Psychological Society in London. Dr. Sharma is also backed up by her research and imparts insightful conclusions from them. Being an avid researcher, she is also an advocate of mental health issues and has participated in various community programs. Finally, we have with us Ms. Varsha Batra, CEO and co-founder of Homegrown India, which is a contemporary youth culture platform. Homegrown was started with a passion to change the narrative. There was an emergence of independent creators in every domain, people who were defying culture, stereotypes, and bringing forth the new perspectives. Homegrown aims to celebrate new voice. In addition to this, Ms. Varsha is an Inc. Fellow and Lenovo Global Creator. She has also been associated with fields of journalism and marketing. She has worked with 140 leading brands, including BBC. We would also shortly have with us our very special guest, Ms. Pooja Talwar, who is a TV journalist and an entertainment editor. I now invite Ms. Devyani Kapoor, founder of Born Again and EduDaves, to formally invite the speaker and moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Supriya. I, on behalf of Born Again, welcome our esteemed panelists today on the Tea Table Talk, Tear the Taboo. Research shows that exploration of self-acceptance is critical to understanding the development and maintenance of mental health. I'm not suggesting that clinical depression has a cure in self-acceptance, but I do believe that self-acceptance has overwhelming effects on our physical, psychological, emotional health. In fact, it impacts our whole perception of ourselves. There are different aspects to self-acceptance, be it physical appearance, or academic presence, or our goals. Self-acceptance has its importance in all fields of our being. It also means not relying on the outside validation and protecting ourselves from negative judgmental thoughts, which is something we all are enveloped with. I'm bringing up self-acceptance in relation to mental health because we are trained to pay attention to what others think of us and educate our children in the same way. Don't speak too much. What will others think? Don't hog on food when you go to other people's house. What will they say? Don't wear short dresses. What will people think about us? And the list goes on. Our self-esteem is somewhere tied to the external validation and materialism. Our success is measured by accumulation of awards, accolades, and fat paychecks. We are taught to seek stronger affirmation from the outside world than our own inner self. Yes, dear all, Today's conversation hinges upon mental health, which is an important part of our lives and influences our thoughts, behavior, emotions, interactions with the society by and large. It also affects our coping ability. Without much ado, and moving on to the ice-breaking questions, though the discussion, the motto of this discussion is definitely not pandemic, but the situation is such that somewhere it has affected our whole idea of normalcy and given us a new normal. So over to Miss Manjurana ma'am. Ma'am, my question to you is that, of course, I too being an educator, I have always felt that schools have played a very critical role in a student's life. Not just about sitting and attending classes in the classes and lectures. They have a bigger role to play. Now, this experience cannot fit into one single screen for each student. How would you explain this, and how do you think the pandemic is affecting the mental health of our students across the ages? Very briefly now. Yeah.
Well, I think pandemic has made us all very, very strong. I would like to start with a very positive thought because, yeah, I mean, these are uncertain times, and I think that's what we teach our children also, you know. That's what life skill is all about. They all have to live up to come up to a situation and try to find answers for themselves. And I think that's what everybody is doing, whether it's children at home, or it is teachers, or it is frontline people who are working, it's doctors. And I think everybody is trying to find answers for themselves. And I feel, I think we are all emerging as more stronger, mentally more stronger. And yes, I think we are able to manage it. So yes, I think pandemic has really, opportunity for all of us.
Thank you so much. Yes, I definitely feel that pandemic has somewhere brought the resilience in us. It has helped us explore our own inner being and potential and made us much more stronger. Thank you so much, ma'am. My next question is to Dr. Vibha Sharma. And here I would want to ask you that in the current scenario, people have been subjected not just to the four walls of their houses, but also arrested in their minds. So we have had worries, have had repetitive thoughts, and normalized certain behaviors like panic buying, to name a few, and trying to overexert and over push ourselves in trying to prove, ourselves to the world. These are some steps towards bigger picture of mental distress. How, in your professional opinion, can we preserve our inner mental peace despite the chaos which we are seeing around us? Ma'am, you're muted. Dr. Sharma, you're muted.
Yeah, because it's the time where so many factors are working, like economic factors are very important for any person. A lot of people have lost their job or have gone down. There are interpersonal factors because most of the people are living together at home. So there is too much of me time, too much of time together, which would have not been there previously in the families. So the kind of things we are seeing is lots of interpersonal issues in the families, lots of feeling low, as you are already talking about low self-esteem. So it has gone really very, very down, the self-esteem, the self-confidence, whether these are students because of the uncertainties about the career, about life ahead. So lots of mental health issues are emerging. We thought that in the initial part of the lockdown it would emerge, but it is not so. now as it is progressing, now we have the fifth month is going on with this problem. So
True.
lots and lots of mental health issues are emerging nowadays. So it has affected, and our profession is one of the profession which is seeing it directly dealing with the problems of such kind of nature.
Very right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, and more to hear from you and more advice to be taken from you, I'm sure, on all these issues. We all are looking up to you for this. Moving on to Varsha, our the entrepreneur panelist, the young entrepreneur whom we have. So, Varsha, the relationship between employees and workplace environment always plays a very major factor while measuring the productivity of a company. So now with everything being online and employees working from home, what is, because productivity is here not just about, there's a lot, again, like schools, a lot happens in the offices and there is a lot of bonding that goes on.
Absolutely.
So how has productivity changed in this whole scenario?
You know what's been interesting? Thank you all who joined in here today. Thank you for the opportunity again, Devyani. Really appreciate it. I think what's been interesting for us is because being a digital media platform, we naturally have been digital natives. So the leap into digital integration, or being far more digitized in terms of our approach, that wasn't so much of a leap. But I think what is hard, so for our edit, because I think what has been hard is the fact that offices, and being a very creatively driven company, offices have always been about creative serendipity and the creative confluence and all of that. I think that has been hard when you don't see each other, when you're not engaging with each other, and sort of, the interpersonal relationships are, I feel like that's what has been affected. However, what I try and do, what we try and do as a team, of course, I really ensure that we are not on Zoom calls all the time. I think you have to have faith in your team in terms of being productive. There have been days where the team members and I have struggled with mental health issues. And at Homegrown, we've always spoken very overtly. We talk about mental health as narratives. It's something we've been always taken on, which is why the same way, if the team members feel that they're struggling, we let them take a day off. If I'm struggling, I communicate the same with the team, because it has been hard. We have been struggling. And even I can create the best case scenario, and I can talk about, how adversity, we're innovating, which we are, but we're also sort of struggling in our own ways, because I feel like for everyone, productivity, there has been no work-life balance, really. I think we're all within our four walls, and from the time you're waking up in the morning to the time you're working, you've forgotten when to take a break, have breakfast, you're between calls. And I think it's just about letting your team members, and that they're human beings, that it's not perfect, and that's okay. And productivity, the idea of productivity we need to change that conversation, and we need to have faith in the team to be able to see projects through and work with them together on that. So that's really where
Thank you so much, Varsha. Thank you so much. We'll be discussing more about the work culture and how the working class has been affected mentally, and how they need to develop their methods of survival, resilience, etc. We now move on to the next segment of our questions, which is and has been our main motive behind organizing this webinar, which is mental health by and large, which has been trending and throughout through the years. My question is to Ms. Manju Rana. So, ma'am, suicide ideation at the age of 15 and 18 has been researched to arise from peer pressure, bullying, academic challenges, parental pressures. You know how it is. All these are constant, companions of any child. These factors are not new, and they have been there since the wake of times. They were there when we were there. They are there now. But why these factors have more impact on the students now than it was before, firstly? Yeah, I have a long list of questions for you because you be heading a school and the amount of experience you have. Second is, how has the course of time changed the development of the students? And finally, what role school has to play in this regard?
Devyani, I'll go with, you had asked me too many questions, but I'll first go with the suicide ideation. I was going through a data of NCRB, of 2018. And to my surprise, about more than 10,000 students, had committed suicide in 2018. And this number has been rising every year. And this is extremely worrying situation for all of us, because we deal with the children of that bracket, and we know how sensitive they are. Himachal Pradesh also did a study, on adolescent, and it was very, very surprising, to find out that 31 adolescents are facing this suicidal ideation. So it means 30% of the children have it in their mind that if they will not be able to do this thing, or whatever dreams or aspirations that they have for themselves, they think that they can end their life. I mean, it's really, really, really scary. And I think children are very, very anxious these days, and I think they fear failures. In our times, we had a lot of family support to take care. And I think these days children also get into a lot of panic disorder. I mean, this is a new term that I heard when children come to me that, ma'am, mujhko panic ho gaya, and there's a lot of stress. I'm going into a nervous breakdown. These things were not there probably when we were in school. So it does worry me. Alcohol and drugs,
Right.
we all know, is school these days. Of course, in my school, I do not face this issue of low socioeconomic status, but it is also one of the reasons why children end up. And like you started, when you started the webinar, you mentioned about interpersonal difficulties that the children face these days. Whether it is bullying, a lot of peer pressure, even parental pressure, I would say, is huge these days. I think parents have a lot of expectations from their children. Children also have their academic challenges. There is cutthroat competition. Children do not have time to do a self-reflection.
Yes.
And they're so busy doing so many things. They probably don't sit down, sit with themselves, and try to find out, do a self-reflection, and try to find out. And I'm sure if they do that, I'm sure they'll find way for themselves. And I think what worries the children most also these days is uncertainty of future. Kya hoga? Kaise hoga? Kya main kar paunga ki nahi kar paunga? Or there is no one to hear them out. They're actually looking, the parents are so busy, both the parents working, nuclear families, teachers are busy in their own completion of syllabus. And that's what I keep telling my teacher. We need to have this kind of communication in the class. So I think as a society, I'm running a school, so I'm head of a community, I could say. And I think we can prevent suicide. So suicide prevention is a social responsibility, and I think each one of us should take up this responsibility to try to connect to the children. See, I'm talking only in perspective to the children because I'm a school leader and my connect with the children is more. So I think these are the things which probably when children do not get answers, to a lot of these questions, I think that's a time that this idea of committing suicide comes into their mind.
Yeah, I would just want to kind of add one thing, like I was just reminded of, that it's not one bad day that pushes you in that territory.
Yes, absolutely.
It's seemingly unending those bad days, those unnoticed. Would you throw some light on this? Because, students keep those signals we are getting as parents and as educators, but somehow probably we are not registering them. Not that we are ignoring them deliberately, but we are not registering those alarming signals or red flags. We are not able to identify. If you could also.
Yeah, absolutely. And since you're talking about school, I think it's very, very important that we also need to find out answers for it, So I think for me, it is early identification, like you said, does play a very, very important role. The teacher in a class, I think every teacher should be a counselor, first of all. She should be like a second mother. I know we are expecting a lot from teachers these days, but I think she should be like a mother. I remember when I was teaching, a lot of children would come up to me and I could sense it, that we all as teachers have got this sixth sense. Is something wrong? We do get these signals. And I've seen if we ignore these signals, it leads to something very, very drastic. So I think every teacher should be observant. And for me, I think there is no single plan that works. Each child is unique. They have their different challenges. How they overcome these challenges, forget about children, even teachers. I have large number of teachers with me and ask me and believe me, how I deal with them at an individual level, So I think, and I have to give them time. I have to hear them out. And if I'm able to hear them out, I'm sure I'll be able to, we collectively, it's not me giving an answer. I think both of us can sit together and find an answer. So I think they need some, and there should be a counselor in a school. I think it is so important that CBSE has made counselor mandatory in schools. We have been, requesting CBSE to make it official to have a counseling. So yes, and various community awareness programs that schools should have, whether it is a life skill training program or a social emotional learning. These days, social emotional learning plays a very, very important role, because it talks about self-management. I think वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. If we are able to manage ourselves, I think all these problems will come to a rest.
Absolutely.
Self-awareness, relationships, and social awareness and responsible decision. I think all these things collectively, to do, I'm sure we'll get answers.
Yes, and I think I have a question which will be in the second round, which is related to this, but very quickly, one more thing that the nearer to God away from, nearer to temple away from God. So we have so many counselors and the systems are in place and, counseling, you have the periods where you have students going to the counselors, their trajectory is psychological trajectory is maintained, the behavior is registered, but still, and these were the things which were never there in our time, but still, on the other hand, the issues of, these alarming issues of depression, anxiety, suicide, these things are increasing. So, yeah, thank you so much,
Devyani, I would just like to interrupt you here. We have with us Mr. Jitin Chawla now, so we would like to formally welcome you, sir.
How are you, Manju ma'am?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Jitin plays a very significant role in counseling my parents. To allow children to take the stream of their choice. and reduce some kind of a pressure. Thank you, Jitin, for that.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for remembering.
Hello, Jitin. Welcome to you to the panel discussion of Born Again. And let me tell you, Manju ma'am was very excited when she heard your name that, oh, Jitin is coming. He's
Same,
an old
same here, ma'am. I was excited, and I came in at the right moment. I could hear snippets of wisdom, I would say, which we can take to the parents also. It's good to understand from school side. And when we did NEP analysis also yesterday evening, and again a lot of issues came up, but I think everything is very positive, and we are all moving towards the right direction.
Yeah, I was part of it. I was part of it, and I think a lot of insight came. Ashok sir was also there. So yeah, it was an interesting session, I must say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jatin, since you're there, so I will not miss out on this opportunity of the ice-breaking question and club the ice-breaking and our main question, because that question I feel is very relevant. Now, the webinar definitely is not about pandemic situation, but yes, pandemic has affected the youngsters who were on the verge of joining jobs or identifying their careers. People are easily switching their career paths in this situation, number one. And what difficulties would you face would lie in future? Because I see students around who are trying to indulge in alternative, not that I'm averse to that, but they are trying to divert themselves into alternative, more out of the box professions. So one, how has this situation affected you and the career counseling industry, and what is it that you would want to suggest?
Two things. I feel there is no problem at all. It's a very, I would say, it is like this, that I see the situation as a very different situation. Why? Because it's like when a plant is there, you would have seen when a plant is growing. So at some point in time, one leaf will turn yellow and brown and it falls off, and a new shoot comes up. So similarly, whenever things around us change, it's just that we need to readapt. We were expecting certain things. In fact, otherwise also, I keep on sharing with my students that life is a very simple game where we make certain expectations. And in India, particularly, I would say more of North India, a lot of parents, because of parents and adults, we have common expectations. So when people come to us for career counseling, they're just talking about 8-10 career options. It is very difficult for us to move them from there, from those 10 options, and take them to a universe of 78,260 career options listed by Department of Labor in US. Or if you look at a site like ONET, O-Net, so locations of careers. So main issue is that everyone is trying to get the same thing, which is not possible. So when you aspire to get, and with COVID, again, if you don't change our own mindsets and we want similar things in terms of courses, salaries, jobs, it will not happen. So it's we who have to reorient ourselves because the outside world has changed. So I see people following careers where they will be a part of gig economy, where they'll do maybe not one job, but 3 jobs. I already have friends who do like that. Yeah. I see people being in a full-time job in the morning and maybe getting free in the evening, 6 o'clock, and again from 9 o'clock doing another job or something which they like to do. It might be writing, singing, playing, and so on. I see a lot of that happening. Right now also I see, and more so because youngsters want to do what they like, unlike the earlier generation. Yeah. Manju ma'am, when earlier people would do anything, like they would be very much like job. If I get any job, I'll just stick to it and keep on working on it. I'll hear whatever the boss has to say. I'll go back home and so on. But today's generation is not like that. They want things which matches with them. Another change is they might not even, of course, they say the verbalization for money is there, but ultimately, if they get jobs where they match, where they love it, they would go for it. They would be happy in it. Regarding COVID, regarding our industry, yes, I would say in terms of revenues, if we say it initially 2 months was really tough, but in terms of opportunities, it has expanded like anything. Even my organization, we could conduct webinars. Earlier when a school, my company works with schools in Kuwait, and we have just started Qatar. But Qatar, we could start because earlier, whenever they would invite me, I would quote them a big sum of money that I am a counselor from Qatar. I want to charge so much money. And they would say, okay, they would think, okay, I pay this guy so much and going, coming, and so on. And it doesn't look so intelligent. So should I pay it or not? So they did invite me for a good 1.5 years. But the moment COVID came, I said, look, I have changed. There's a change of heart and I want to work with you. I'm just doing it free of charge for you. Everyone said, yes, we should. Yeah, why not? Obviously, they knew me. And I could enter Qatar, and I've got clients from there. I've got study abroad clients from Qatar, Kuwait, and so on. My team could crack Nepal. So initial 1 month, me and one of my senior management person, we went berserk. We doubled our efforts, and I would say we were able to open up new markets. Another thing is because our market opened up, so all the parents, even sitting in Moradabad, Allahabad, Varanasi, Lucknow, Meerut, they were open to receiving career counseling online, and they said fine. Earlier day they would have said no, I want to come. Still today also I'm sitting in my office, so some parents have come, some parents are coming. But today at least I can visualize a business plan where people would are willing to take career counseling online also, because everyone knows Zoom, everyone knows WebEx, Microsoft Teams, and so on. So that's the change. So I think that is phenomenal for us. We as a brand, we are doing some good job, and it is matching with what people want. If you can do it online anytime, a lot of my children are happy. Children are able to ask me questions on webinars like nothing. I mean, I've done webinars with 600, 700 children. I've got like 500 queries, which was not possible in Manjuran ma'am, we have done at your auditorium, such a huge audience, but we'll get maybe maximum 15, 20, 30 questions. Because a lot of people not ask, but webinar everyone asks because they are hidden. They can some people do must also, but
yeah, thank you so much. Coming back, I will come back to you once again and continue with this very insightful discussion, because what Jitin is telling is something that I think every parent and every student here want to have or would have all ears for it. Moving on to Dr. Vibha. Dr. Vibha, WHO statistics have stated India to be the most depressed country. Maximum number of suicides happen here under the age of 40. If this continues, we run the risk of our citizens dying by suicide at an even higher rate than ever, which is actually happening. We've had, n number of cases in last 1 month, and both celebrities, they are the ones which we get to know, and there's a lot of discussion, but I'm sure there are more number of people who are committing suicide, which we do not get to know. That with limited professionals in the field, how do we curb the situation, and how can we as a society help the at-risk population?
Yeah, Dr. Devyani. At the outset, I would like to clarify, first of all, that depression is a term which is being used too much now, but we need to understand that depression as a severe mental health problem or severe mental illness is different than the common mental health problem. So we need to know that there are several severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, chronic depression or psychotic depression, which are going to be almost same. The prevalence is still the kind of which
Have we lost? I can't hear. Lost. Yeah, I really can't hear. You just okay. Should we wait or should we continue? I'll just wait for 5
Hello.
more seconds.
Yeah, she's back.
She's
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
I thought we play a game.
Sorry. So as I was talking about, severe mental illnesses are like the prevalence remains almost same over the years, but what has increased really are the common mental health problems. So being like mild to moderate depression, anxiety, and so many other new problems which change according to time and according to social situations, socio-political situations, cultural problems. So we need to be clarified that severe mental disorders are prevalence is same. What WHO is talking about is common mental health disorders, and in India, an estimate is that around 20 to 25% of population in their lifetime may get at some point of time depression. So depression has become like as common as cough and cold. Is there
Yes,
still
Dr.
a
Viva,
connectivity issue?
Dr. Viva, one point, like what you're talking is, the statistics, the terms that you're using are those which probably as a lay parent or as a lay educator, how am I to identify that? How am I to, as a parent or as an educator, where I cannot differentiate. I know the child's behavior is not right. The child's, attitude towards common things is not right. Would you please also advise in terms of
of course. So the problem is that if like there are severe mental illnesses, there has to be generally a genetic factor, genetic loading in the family. But suddenly if you see a change in the child's behavior or in a person's behavior, it's not only child, maybe the adult one, sudden changes like feeling very low, try to remain alone, lack of interest in the activities which were like he or she used to enjoy previously, lack of sleep. There may be disturbances in sleep. Either person may sleep too much or may sleep very less, changes in appetite, changes in day-to-day routines. So if like these things start happening, and with a lot of like interest in things, lack of interest and low self-esteem, if a person can do anything, if he's working or in a school, a child can perform, suddenly you see a drop in the performance. So then you have to like, these are kind of identifying markers where you need to pay attention. And then like we need to identify that is it depression if a person is really feeling low, or is it just anxiety because of the different pressures, person is just anxious, or there are some other, might be personality factors. When we talk about suicide, depression is not the only reason for all the suicides. There may be some personality forms which get very impulsive and just take some decision haste. There may be deliberate self-harm attempts, but suicide is maybe sometimes just taking a decision in just a moments kind of anger or any haste. But depression is kind of a long-term illness. So we need to understand that depression. Yes, please.
Dr. Viva, the problem is suicides have suddenly become so common. Why all of us are sitting here and discussing is because till now they were depression, mood swing and all. And now suddenly this thing has become every second day we hear, and it is alarming. So that is probably, is it the social stigma? And probably like everybody needs to be counseled that, the moment your child starts showing some red flags, and then you need to know about the red flags that, okay, this is where. So what would you recommend on that? What would you tell us? What will you tell the viewers?
Yeah, the thing is, first of all, we need to identify the factor, why it is happening so, because until we are not able to identify the cause, the reason, then it would be difficult to counsel him or provide therapy. So especially in case of children, is it like peer pressure? Is the child undergoing, he has been bullied, or is it something at home? Sometimes like domestic violence at home may lead to depression in children. So are the like interpersonal relationship at home is okay or good, or like he's getting pressure of studies from parents or teachers, or other like social factors, not getting enough social support, having too much like pressure from parents for being like competitive in nature, then the kind of personality, some children just externalize their pressures, being in like more angry and being more violent, and some students or children get it internalize it, the pressures or the problems more, they get more depression. So we
Okay.
need to understand this, and like, not only counseling, so talking is one aspect, but sometimes children need much more therapeutic things. So,
We'll come back
what
to
you were
it
saying,
again, Dr. Varsha. Yeah, we'll
Devyani ma'am,
Dr.
I would
Sharma.
like to
We will.
interrupt you here, and we would like to welcome our very special guest for today, Ms. Pooja Talwar, who is a TV journalist and an entertainment editor. Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am, for joining. And Devyani ma'am, I would like you to formally welcome Pooja ma'am first.
Hello, Pooja. It's a pleasure to have you on this show once again.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
My pleasure
I'm
to be here.
honored.
No, I'm
Very
honored. It's
boldly.
been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and all ears to you today, because I think last time you were somewhere thinking, weighing the time against the conversation. So I would want to hear more of you today. I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Now, to Varsha, very quickly, Varsha, the question is to Varsha Patra. Now, a startup like Homegrown takes a complete and vivid understanding of not only of how the world works, but also of the inner self and how to moderate and channel your energy. So, what personality traits do you think help you through all the stages of developing an organization like Homegrown? Because you were talking to us and it was very interesting. So, Varsha, are you? Am I audible? Is
Realize
Varsha
I'm
there?
on mute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what it's always evolving, but being an entrepreneur honestly is more of there are a lot of conversations often, there's a glorification of entrepreneurship, but people never really talk about the challenges and what it really takes to want to see it through, because your back is against the wall most days. But honestly, I think the three things I think as an entrepreneur, or just to get through life, or something that I've sort of evolved, is for me has been courage, perseverance, and resilience. Now, I know they sound like very broad terms, but the idea of courage, because you are going to have a lot of people say no, and that you can't do it, or that your idea is not good enough. And we've had that. We've had where people said, oh, Homegrown, your voice is very niche. You need to be like BuzzFeed or a Scoop Whoop, no disrespect to any other platforms, for you to survive in a country like India. And we told them, we'll prove you wrong. And you have the courage to stand at an investor meeting and tell an investor that you are wrong, that, you know what, it's okay if you don't invest in money. Resilience, because you are going to fail and you are going to fall many, many, many times as an entrepreneur. Of what you probably see in publications or what you see on TV. It is hard, and there are hard decisions that have to be made, and they will go wrong, but you have to have the ability and that sort of resilience to like see things through. And honestly, and for me as an entrepreneur, and even just and something that I've sort of struggled with for a very long time, and talking about mental health, and it's something that's very personal to me, because people don't talk about mental health when it comes to entrepreneurship, because there's always this idea of glorification, and it's a very dark place, because you will have your highest of highs and your lowest of lows, and you really need to have that support system. And for me, I'm blessed. The fact that I can afford a therapist, and that's something that has really, really, really helped me, and at Homegrown, we try and break the stigma around the conversation of mental health, to seek help, to talk about it, because there's a huge stigma around it. The best of us have a stigma to go see a therapist, because we feel like pagal hai. There's all of these associations with the word, with mental health. perspective, those conversations and perspective on how to navigate life, perspective on how do I make decisions, perspective on how do I not react or do I react. These perspectives have, and from my therapist, have really helped me have a semblance of normalcy with my mental health through my struggles.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yes, there is a lot of stigmatization, and there is a lot of the social stigma to it. There is also self-stigma to the whole thing. My next question is to Pooja Talwar. Pooja, a challenging workplace environment has its pros and cons. For some, it adds value to their growth, and for some, it is a stressor. You have been in that position where you experience both, I'm sure, on a daily basis. How do you cope up with such a stress? Because every day opens with a lot of stress. And how do you inspire people to, tear the taboo and speak their mental health issues? And I'm sure I would love to hear, because you've been in that hot seat where every day is a new daily plebiscite to prove yourself. I mean, it's a daily proving activity. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Devyani. I'm glad that people are talking about mental health. Earlier, it was something that was not discussed. It was brushed under the carpet because you didn't discuss these things, because if you said that you were feeling anxious, you were feeling low, you were sad, people would judge you. I mean, I'll give you my own example. Media is not an easy place to be. You're constantly being judged. There is workplace bullying that's happening, harassment. There's mental harassment happens all the time. You might just have a boss who will put you down, promote another. These are things that happen in any organization. You have to constantly prove yourself, seek justification. But back in the day, I'm talking about say 25 years ago, people spoke down to you. You became a little unsure about yourself. You judged yourself, thinking you were incapable. And these would play to you. And you would feel stressed, and you would feel a little panicky, and you would have an anxiety attack. So if you tried speaking to someone about it, oh, come on, you're always looking at the negatives. Or somebody would, there would be hushed whispers. Look at her, always getting nervous. I don't know why she's low. She's such a negative person. But I just feel now, because of things that are happening, suddenly people are discussing mental health. I just feel institutions, organizations need to be a little sensitive towards this, because, you need to be very careful, as they say, in your thought, word, and action towards people. Also, with social media, with everybody being surrounded by gadgets, we are totally wired in 24/7. The brain at the day needs some rest. And also, the thing is, it's a chemical imbalance also at times. I'll give you my own example. 2.5 years ago, I did go to a doctor because I love working out because it would make me feel happy. But I would start breaking down for no rhyme or reason. In the middle of my workout, I would just break down. And I remember calling my mother and saying, I don't think my life is worth living. And she was a little, why are you saying that? She got a little taken aback. Sab theek ho jayega. The way mums are you stressed about that project? It's okay. You will get another. I wanted to shift, switch jobs. And I wasn't very sure whether things were really right for me and whether the environment was serving me anymore. So, but I was like, there's something, it didn't last a day. It was just like this dark hole that you are just getting sucked into. So I went to the doctor, and he told me, he says, this could be borderline clinical depression because your serotonin is a little low. He says, I won't prescribe you medication because I didn't want to take medication, because sometimes you do also get a little dependent on those. Then I went to a counselor who kept telling me, you have to keep speaking to yourself, meditate, and there was this rubber band approach, all these things, but at that time, not getting those answers. And I remember going back to office and somebody telling me like, Arey, why are you so negative? It's okay, be positive, things will get better. If you say that I'm a little depressed, really, you're depressed? And it's like they're looking at you saying like, my God, there is something seriously wrong with the brain. A depressed person is not a mad person. Person is not mad. It could be a chemical imbalance that person needs to get sorted. Be a little patient, be a little considerate. Then, anyways, for 1 month, I was given an calming medication to take, just to calm my nerves. And I was just And the counselor just told me, go through these things. Why are you getting so angry? Why are you low on patience? Ask these questions to yourself. There was also a little exercise I was asked to do called Step Up. It's what you're thinking, your thought, emotion, your practice, you know. I wasn't very consistent, but all that helped. And then I realized for my own sanity, I have to walk away from this toxicity. But one does not realize one toxic place you will meet, because the people all around you, you will meet people. So at the end of the day, somewhere you have to take the onus, and there is nothing wrong in visiting a psychiatrist. I want to tell people, you know, even if there are people who will ask you at work, so where are you going? Which doctor are you seeing? Oh, you're going to a psychiatrist. Medication le rahe ho, depressed ho. So they look at you and, oh, you poor, poor thing. There's something so seriously wrong with you. There is nothing wrong. I still remember somebody telling me about another colleague, oh, she's undergoing therapy. What's wrong in undergoing therapy? We all need therapy. You cannot be judging people. So I think somewhere people don't like talking about mental health is because of being victimized, being shamed, and being judged. There's nothing wrong. Being depressed is as having this chronic cold cough. It's equivalent to that. It's something that needs to be treated. And also I feel people need, sometimes all you want to do is reach out to somebody and speak, be available. I know we can't be available that time.
We'll come back to this, because this is something of different segment and I would want to hear it out. But before that, I just want to quickly jump on to Jitin, because this really is correlating, and that is why I want to have a dip. So, Jitin, taking Pooja Talwar's conversation further, I have a question for you. People going through mental distress are particularly sensitive to the learning and work environment. As she said, that she felt that something is not right. It wasn't one factor. I'm sure there were multiple. How do you, as a career counselor, make sure that they have a career path that is both safe space, where they can be comfortable, and a growth space where they can explore their aptitudes and interests? Also, that you need to know. So, for example, working in a bank is very different than being a journalist or being an actor. Do you also see these are very important? Whenever we talk about somebody like Sushant Rajput, who I always ask, he knew that which road he was treading. So I think what Pooja just said, I want you to elaborate on that. Yes.
Like I have had cases where I would say where parents shared that, look, the child or at times the young adult is going through this. So typically one is we would not rush them into a decision. Rather, my first thing would be to calm down the parent, because some of the Indian parent has a very, I would say, a very conditioned thinking that, look, my child should complete 12th at this age, graduation at this age, post-graduation, should work, get married, have child at this age, and so on. So that's the thing which has been followed. So a typical household, it will be discussed. And at times, more than the external influences, it might be internal influences, which is not letting the person calm down. So I still remember there was a daughter of a very well-placed family, and she was going through some issues, and the parents are like, no, we want her to pick up a career. And I had to insist with them that she was very good with children, and somehow other things were not happening. So we asked them to let her work with the play school, and she actually did work subsequently, though it took us 2-3 discussions and 2-3 sessions. But she worked with the play school, and within 4 months she was kind of back to normal. And in spite of her visits to the psychologist, and initially she was seeing a psychiatrist also, but she was, I would say, she was brimming with confidence, and she really enjoyed that phase. A similar case happened when somebody else was there. In fact, I helped that other person do internship in between. So we might ask them not to rush through a career decision. In India, people feel even taking a sabbatical is okay. I have students who have taken a sabbatical after 12th class, which earlier after 12th class, So there are universities which have started offering a 1-year gap year program. So there are 2 universities I know of. They're offering a structured 1 year, I would say not so structured, but a 1 year program where they will help the child get internship, do some community work, do some research if they want to, attend workshops going by their own this thing. So all pointing out that there is a need for a space where students can go explore themselves and then figure it out. So Rishi University Sonipat started this year itself. They have a gap year program, and one university in Bangalore. I'll just remember the name. I'm not remembering it right now. So this Atria Bangalore also is offering a gap year program. So we would rather, in fact, I have a current case also, and the parent is really after my life. Let's finalize, and not only now. I mean, they want us to finalize. A lot of parents look upon a career counselor as an astrologer who will tell them that okay, after 10 years your child should be here, and you do this point, this point, this point. Yeah, whereas life is not at all like that. So
I just want to mention one thing here, Jitin, then you continue. Because I just remembered, I told one of my friends when she read my ad, so she said, oh, Jitin, he is very good. मैं अपने बच्चे को उसके पास ले जाना. आज साहिल वही है जहाँ जितिन ने जो बताया था, we did. So yes, it is exactly. They actually said Sahil वही है जहाँ पे
there is no magic. It is, I think, children and all of us have a very powerful source of energy within ourselves. I mean, at times you just need to let it kind of grow. That's it. It's very simple. I mean, I've seen a number of occasions. I've got students who have failed, done miserably initially in their exams, but when they come back, oh God, they've done so well. I can't tell you. I've got I just want to relate this example. So there's a gentleman. He's the manager of a school, a very old school chain in Delhi, and this gentleman is the manager. And his son, yeah, in second year he says, I don't want to continue with engineering, and a South Indian family, and they started thinking, or they were like, oh God, what will happen? And then he called me up. I said, you send him alone to me. So my first interaction was like this, that this guy is saying, sir, I have lost interest. I was not knowing. Everyone around me said engineering. So I just went in for it. I said, fine. What do you want to do? He says, I want to be an entrepreneur. I said, but have you attended any entrepreneurship program? Have you kind of prepared yourself for it? He says, no, but I think I can do it. I can build up on it. So I told him, look, I have 3 project ideas. I actually had, though I was not having any intention of starting immediately. I said, you come to my office, come to me for 15 days, you will accompany me. But you will start with me the time I start my day in the morning, and you'll end that day every day when I end my day. So he came with me, and he actually came with me. 14th day, and then I would take him for a TV show also with me. He would tag along, radio show also he would tag along, and somehow, I mean, he would come along with me everywhere, workshops and so on. So, and for a good period of about 16, 17 years, every day I have done a workshop, every day without fail, except for a Sunday. Saturdays have been hot days. So this gentleman would come along. 14th day, during lunchtime, he would come. And of course, we became pally. He would get some stuff from his house and so on. So he came and he said, sir, ek se baat karni hai aapse. I said, tell me. He said, sir, मैं सोच रहा हूँ मैं engineering कर लेता हूँ वापस. I said, but why are you thinking? Yeah, see, I didn't say anything to him. I said, fine. So a lot of times it's just, and you have to acknowledge that, because that guy is an adult. Earlier, the interaction with the parent was where it was a lot of pulling was happening, and the parent was like, no, complete your engineering. Then you can do MBA, you can do entrepreneurship course. I'll invest money. But the child was not willing to listen. I mean, they couldn't even form communication channels. But the moment he saw what entrepreneurship entails, he thought it's better. Abhi to main 2-3 saal apna engineering jata hu. I'll have some nice fun, and I'll do what I have to do, and then I'll think of entrepreneurship or whatever. Yeah. So that's how the story was. So
going thank you, Jitin. I would want to relate.
I just quickly want to highlight in half a minute. So there are because a lot of people are counselors here, or speaking or interacting with young people. So my last 2 bit to this is, I'll also need to leave. So my last 2 bit is, after COVID, there are a lot of careers which are like really emerging careers. So careers like cybersecurity, cyber law, online retail, career opportunities like biomedical scientists, computer-aided drug design, robotics, consumer robotics particularly. I am sure with the experience, a lot of people would have Milagro robots or iRobots or Roomba robots at their houses for cleaning and other things. So there are a lot of options which are really increasing, and we need to let children understand those so that they can build upon it. Internet infrastructure, information security, and so on and so forth. Video conferencing. Yeah. So one can actually feel it if you actually sit and analyze it. So that's my last two bit. I was just wanted to contribute because initially when we started this,
Excellent.
we started with the
Excellent, because I'm sure
I
there'll
need
be
to
n
add
number
to
of parents who, yeah.
I need to add
Manju ma'am,
I
yeah.
need to add to what Jitin is saying. Probably Jitin, the school going on cloud, classes going online. I think I fear, I'll lose my job. So probably I'll get back to you and you have to do some career.
You are a big
No,
trainer. I mean, I will be happy if you lose your job because you will do benefit to not one school, then 1,000 schools. I see.
my
Like,
next question to Ms. Manju Rana, that and which is related to where Jitin ends, with the new education policy, which envisages greater emphasis on critical thinking, life skills, and post-scholastic. It clearly reflects that NEP proposes to give equal weightage to scholastic and co-scholastic areas. So, as the head of the school, how do you see the challenges of integrating the two, provided the limitations that we are facing today, even in terms of implementing the co-scholastic and implementing the scholastic, and then considering that somewhere the co-scholastic has taken a back seat? How this amalgamation with the new education policy will the schools will take forward? Two, would it also benefit reduce stress on the students? Because considering equal weightage, there are more areas and more fields where they could fetch marks on. And but in the current scenario, what would you like to say? Yeah.
Um, see, this new education policy talks about skills. And I think all of us have been talking about skills since a very, very long time. But since our assessment, our examination systems are so rigid, that we were not able to implement, the skills and the competencies among the children. And I think this new education policy is being much awaited. And I think it talks hugely about the 21st century, just not the skills, but even mastery of it. And it comes from, see, we need to understand that we need to now shift from knowledge, which is the bottommost of the Bloom's taxonomy, and move up higher. We have only moved about 2 or 3 ladders. I mean, we've just moved from knowledge to basically maybe understanding or application. Now we need to move up. We need to move for more creative, critical thinking, problem solving, design thinking, social emotional learning, blended class. I mean, there's so much happening. And I think we all, as educators, I think I'm extremely excited, and for a school, I think it's not a challenge to maintain a balance between scholastic and co-scholastic. It's just that it needs little planning, you need to know how to blend it well. And if you're able to blend it well, I'm sure, I mean, a lot of schools, a lot of progressive schools, you talk about Shriram, you talk about Springdales, I think they have laying a lot of emphasis only on the post-scholastic domain, So and I think that our school has a very beautiful blend of both. And I think that is what is needed. So I don't think so for schools like us who have been progressive, already working on those lines, whether it is experiential learning, hands-on. So we're really excited, joyful learning. So I think we have some exciting times ahead.
Great.
Really
just I want to add one point to this.
Yes.
New education policy also talks about localization. So that means, and I've experienced somehow, I've also gone to, I would say, very small, even villages also, and done some programs. So I went to a place, Rampura. which is almost 13 kilometers away from Rewari. And not only once, I have gone there 3 times. So I refused to do a standard workshop, though there was an IPS officer, they run a society, and these guys had taken me there, IPS, IAS officers. So I told them that I would not go and speak because gaon mein nobody will understand the way I speak.
Right.
And I don't want to, I mean, I would want to my audience to be excited and happy about what we are delivering. So I convinced them to let me hire a theater group, and we made a we made a play, and they wanted us to highlight certain things of bacha should study and people should do well and men folk should take care of this. Whatever issues were, we put it in the play. I got somebody to build up a script and so on. But when it went there after the play, it was received pretty well. One farmer, he took me to his farm and he had planted 532 amla trees. And this guy shared that, look, while coming back, we did have a discussion, and he gave me 5 kgs of amlas. I said, you charge me for it? He said, no, you can take it because I keep on giving to everybody who comes here. It's not that you are a special person. I will give it to the cycle wala who's come. I just keep on giving. I said, why? He said, the cost of taking all my amlas of 532 trees to Azadpur Mandi, which is the closest Mandi, is equivalent to what I'll get. So it's better to give away amlas free of charge. Yeah. So if food processing is there, so when I say localization, so if some student from that side thinks that, look, it's not, this guy is just a 10-acre farm. There are so many others also. So if somebody sets up a food processing unit there and is able to process amlas, so that guy was getting at that time, the amla price in the market was 40 to 50 rupees a kg. His price at Azadpur Mandi, what he would have got was 5 rupees a kg, 6 rupees a kg. So if somebody could have done a food processing, made it into a amla, sukha hua, he could have sold it better. If he could have made it with a gold work in Dubai, that same amla would be sold for 1,500 rupees a kg.
Yeah, thank you, Justin, because we are deviating from the mental, and I think when we were going to hear you on mental health. Yeah. So my next question is to both to Ms. Pooja Talwar and Vibha Sharma. And yeah, because one of you can start, probably Vibha could start, and then Pooja could conclude on that. Now, coming back again to our core area, which is mental health and the suicides, in number of suicides which are happening, and how we look at the celebrities to whom people keep aping and keep hero worshipping, and looking around them trying to ape their styles, etc. So during recent times, we've seen celebrity suicides in particular becoming a recurring phenomenon. We have seen many people posting on social media that people who are suffering from depression can confide in them. Of course, talking to someone does help, but do you think, is it safe for people with mental health to go and just vent out in the name of catharsis? Is it catharsis? Is it not? Or should they only refer to a professional opinion?
Yeah, Dr. Devyani, I would say that talking is good, no doubt. One must confide, but the term confidentiality is again very, very important. So if someone is talking to a good friend or family, it is good if he or she can get support from there. But there is a thin line. Then one has to identify if that talking is not the only thing which is helping. So everyone in life, I always say, should have that ability to seek support also. To provide support is a big thing, but to seek support. So if you have someone to whom you can talk from whom you can get support, it's good. But if you feel that just talking is not helpful, though active listening is very, very good for someone who is feeling, but even from active listening, empathetic listening is different. So if you go to a professional, the person can be empathetic. So it is a thin line. Of course, friends, family, you person should confide, talk to. But when even the family and friends feel, no, it is beyond our reach, we are not able to help the person, because sometimes only talk cannot help. Sometimes person may be in need of medication, maybe in therapies, regular therapies like cognitive behavior therapy or behavior therapies. So then only a professional can provide that. So judging that, of course, listening, ventilation, because ventilation is one part which helps a person. And I'm happy that Pooja is here, and she has made my job easy. She talked so much about the therapy and the problems. So you may feel the difference when you go to a professional. They would tell you the exact, they would help you to find out what is causing your problem. They would help you in finding out what are your personality and other your thinking patterns which may be causing the problem. And then they would help you to change those thinking patterns, change your cognitions, change the way you are dealing with your problems. So problem solving skills and other things can be taken into the therapy, and that is going to help a person. So it is done in a more systematic way. So in initial phase, when the problem is less, of course, talking to someone who is a family or friend is helpful. But then again, one need to see that the one whom I'm confiding to should be a person whom I can trust, because people otherwise just make jokes out of it.
No,
As
that's it.
Pooja was also
So
sharing.
we can have, if Pooja Talwar, we could, there is a specific question here. Is Pooja Talwar there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, hi. So Pooja, one very important thing, as a common person, as a common man, for us, you know, looking at these celebrities, we try to imbibe their lifestyle, we try to live their life. Now, considering this has become a kind of, you know, it's like a chain reaction. Is it probably, you know, it just suddenly seems it's become also easy to give up? Is it that? So, what impact, number one, would you think would be on the society? And what is that message would you want to kind of convey to your listeners? And
I just want to say the celebrity at the end of the day is just a human like you and me. They go through the same motions, they go through the same emotions like you and me, same bodily functions. It's just that they are, seen every day. You try to emulate them. I think somewhere people forget that you're in love with their on-screen persona. You don't know what their off-screen persona is. And the thing is, just because they're seen, they have to create that aura around them that they are absolutely fine. It does take a toll on them too. There are a lot of the stars, as you say, they're human beings who go through anxiety. Many go through panic attacks. Many also go through depression, and I'm glad people are speaking. Deepika Padukone was one of the first people to openly come out and say, I am depressed. Many called it a publicity stunt. It was not a publicity stunt. She was going through it. It was a chemical imbalance in her. Post her, then there were people like Anushka Sharma who said, I have anxiety because of work stress. These are people who on a day-to-day basis, like you and my interaction would be with our colleagues and friends, but they are dealing with that magnified tenfold, because they are people, they are fans, they are foes, they are now the new breed, trollers who are every day lashing out. So there is that persona that you need to maintain 24/7. And also social media, they're all pretty happy pictures. You don't know about the demons they are battling offline. I know what happened. Maybe what his reasons to give up was, we don't know. He was, but the rhetoric around it has pushed the issue of mental health on the back burner. We are dealing with other things. There are people sitting and saying, oh, I met him 5 years ago, but he didn't look depressed. How does a depressed person look? Yeah, they look like you and me. They would be laughing. The smiling faces sometimes hide the saddest stories. It's just, and also apparently there is thing, oh, people knew we were depressed, but as Vibha said, people, the ones you confide in, sometimes would just hold it against you, that I will tell the world, I'll tell your fans that you're depressed. It's okay, embrace it. It's good to tell people that your weaknesses, that you're human also. And that's what's happened with celebrity suicides. I was reading somewhere when we were reporting this is, don't say how the death was caused, because it leads to a chain reaction. There were 3 more people, youngsters, who committed suicide. It's fine, this person decided to end his or her life for reasons they best know. It was their free will. They took that decision. Yes, you and me feel maybe you should have fought a little harder. Like as I in my obituary said, I just wish Sushant had stayed on the crease a little bit longer. Maybe he had no one to speak to. You know, somebody with 10 million followers on Instagram and Twitter was the loneliest person. You know, so, and also the position they are in, it's a very lonely industry. It's not nice it's very lonely at the top. It's very lonely at the top. Now you're hearing about a young TV star who committed suicide. He had nobody to reach out to, because everybody is in their cocoon fighting their own battles. Nobody wants to give another person an ear, a shoulder. And then that's what, and as I said, you're judged. You're actually judged. You're victimized. You're stigmatized. They think that depression is actually an illness. It's a little quirk in the head. The person is not normal. Even in the gym, I remember someone openly said, I'm depressed, but they hush whisper, oh, just be nice to this boy. He's depressed. Be normal with that person. Just be normal. So this is it. I mean, and also I think somewhere common people are in love with the on-screen persona of the star who's romancing 10 women, is bashing up the baddies, is so sane, is an achiever. He is a human being, and human beings fall ill mentally, physically. They deal with similar things that you and me. It's not that they are there and you and me are here. We are all human beings, and we just need to be compassionate towards each other, irrespective of what our social position is. This is what I want to tell people.
Yeah, I think Pooja has said very well. I must compliment her for this, because depression is going to be as common as cough and cold. So when we are talking openly about cough and cold, we are even talking openly about that I am corona positive. Then why we can't talk about depression and our anxieties and openly? Why people should be judged?
Serotonin level is a little low. I was looked at like, oh, are you okay? Are you taking something?
Then everyone will come with some sympathy.
My diet. And then I was told if the diet doesn't help, you might need some medication because it's a chemical imbalance in my body.
Yeah. So we need to understand the chemical imbalance also. That's what I was saying. The need of medication is also plays very important role, because we need to understand that there is a chemical imbalance in brain. Their neurotransmitters play a very important role. So sometimes the medication is going to do wonders. So people should not be worried about taking the medication and the professional help.
So Pooja, one, and later then probably Varsha can conclude that. The workplace pressure, which of course Pooja was talking about in the previous conversation. I want to hear that out, because that's a very common thing around everybody, all the urban. So that, how would you explain? Because that is something you can't get out of, and that is a daily dose which each of us are, especially people who are in jobs, which now every job, I think, whether it is education, I'm sure Ms. Rana would endorse to that. Any job has its own stresses, but yes, there are certain workplace pressures. What would you want to say on this?
I just want organizations to be a little sensitive, just become sensitized. Because the thing is, we put a lot of pressure, and also as we grow older, I mean, my energy is at 23 when I could handle, say, 20,000 things and multitask. I can't do it at the age of 48. I can't. But still, you expect me to do that. Or maybe that's how I'm inbuilt. I'm a perfectionist. And also sometimes I feel we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. What are we doing this for? I mean, I'm a control freak, and I've actually been told by many people, back off, because it's going to strain you. You're taking too much pressure upon yourself. It will mentally affect you, which is true. I think somewhere offices, organizations, a very fast-paced world. We are technically very savvy, but we might be technically savvy, but we are mentally also regressing big time. We just think that this brain is working, nothing will happen. The other night, there was a it was not a great meeting at work. I didn't sleep all night. My eyes were shut, but my brain was working. It's those mornings when you don't want to get out of bed. I just shook myself up. I didn't work out, which I should have. But I just realized that I was just pressurizing myself for somebody else's problem. So I just feel that offices need to be a little more sensitive. HR needs to come up with policies of mental. We have had sexual harassment policies, Me Too happened, but what about mental harassment? I know an organization where somebody went and complained to HR saying, I'm being mentally harassed by this colleague. It's okay, you can quit the organization. Why should she quit the organization? Have counselors who are willing to talk. Just strengthen your HR policies and be a little sensitive. I think it's human beings form organizations. At the end of the day, if you want robots and drones to run your organization, great, we don't need mental health. As long as they're human beings, please be sensitive towards each other, care for each other, talk to each other. I mean, just don't become so unavailable that we'll just talk on WhatsApp. We'll just I'll say a message, I'm depressed. Oh, are you okay? That's not good enough. Ask that person what's troubling that person. Maybe you will bring that light of hope that the person is trying to seek in that dark tunnel at the moment, because depression is not a nice place to be in. The person who's going through it knows that dark hole that envelopes them. Maybe you could just be nice. I'm just saying, just be sensitive. And organizations need to be a little more sensitized, and HR policies need to be reworked.
Very well said, Pooja, that we keep talking about a high EQ level, but are our organizations gearing towards a high EQ level or just hunting for a higher IQ? So, Varsha, for you, that individuals should be taught the reality of the world and not give idealistic view of it. How would you like to address the beginners who only have ideas of how it works and not the real face of it? And then, obviously, when they start, there is a lot of stress and which affects them. How would this stress can be lessened, and what is your advice to these individuals who?
I think more than anything else, we just need to, the world is hard enough. We need to learn to be kind to ourselves and cut ourselves some slack. And this is a lesson for myself too. And it's a long way. It's taken me a long time to get to this place. But truly, I think we just need to learn. And exactly, what Pooja also said, it's about compassion and empathy. And I think it's about unlearning and learning through our lives, right? And, we will be making mistakes. And for a lot of people, I think there's this whole idea of glorification of entrepreneurship, which I genuinely, dislike, because there is your Fortune, your Forbes 30 under 30s and all of that, where we've all been part of. And no one really realizes that it comes with a lot of trade-offs in life. Entrepreneurship, like I said, it's not a career choice, it's a life choice, right? And for people you really need to have team members as partners who sort of share that vision with you, to want to change things, to want to shift things. You really need to look at them as partners who really believe in it. And because the times when there's adversity, the only you through that adversity is that belief, that shared vision, and that belief that you will pick yourself up and you will try again. And you have to embrace fear. And I've said that before as well. It's okay to be scared, and it's okay to fall, and it's okay to not know what to do. It's okay. All of that's okay. So, if you want to be an entrepreneur, it really needs to come from a place. Be curious. Have courage. Don't look at, and remember, you're going to have your own journey. And I'm saying this again and again because social media is a beautiful place, but it's equally brutal, because everyone is constantly comparing themselves, and they think the idea of success, people don't see people's journey to get to that point of what you see as success. You don't see the hardships, you don't see those trials and tribulations, because no one's going to put that out. All you see is that pinnacle of success, and you want to get there. And so you need to realize that you have to work hard, be honest and true to yourself, have faith in your convictions, and remember, you will get there in your own time, but have faith. Don't constantly keep comparing yourselves to others. And social media is a tough one. So I feel really bad for, a generation, Gen Z. My team members are Gen Z, and all of them, they're born in that. I can't even imagine what would be like to constantly to live a life like that. where you feel that you have to compare yourself. So yeah, you're going to have your own journey, and that's all I really want to say. And be kind to yourself, and be kind to people around you. So yeah.
Thank you, Varsha. That was very well put, very well put.
Thank you.
And I think we open the floor now for the audience questions to be addressed to their panelists of their choice.
Devyani,
Priya,
is it
can
okay
we
if
have?
I have to leave? Is that all right?
I'm
Yeah,
sure,
just actually, sorry, Varsha, probably I would, if I could just request you to just probably provide us with a quick 15-second bite on Born Again and your experience at the webinar today.
Right now, like in front of everyone? Oh, wow. I just want to say thank you. Wait, where do I look? Like, this is very confusing.
Just your camera.
Oh, my camera? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. It was honestly, I'm really, really grateful to have been part of Born Again. And I think it's such an, it's an incredible initiative. The fact that you're trying to destigmatize the narrative around mental health more than ever, it's needed. And we need to continuously work together collectively to, break break all the stigma around it. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all our panelists for the wonderful answers and views to the buzzing questions that we've got, insightful answers of today. Thank you so much for this. Before actually moving on to the Q&A session, can I just quickly ask our other panelists as well, and again our special guest, Pooja Talwar, to just quickly give us a 10-second bite or 15-second bite on Born Again and their experience. I'll start with Mrs. Manju Rana.
Yeah.
Ma'am, just a 10-second or a 15-second bite on Born Again and your experience of the webinar today.
Well, I think this was a much welcomed initiative. I think it's high time that we all should come out and talk about mental health, mental issues. I think all of us are going through it in some form or the other, and it is important that we identify and go for a remediation. I think that is most important, first of all. And I think what Vibha and Pooja said, it makes a lot of sense that it's not a stigma, and if we feel that we need to go to a doctor, we just must do it right away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manju ma'am. I'll move to Dr. Vibha Sharma just quickly, probably 10 seconds.
Yeah, Born Again is, I would say, it's very nice initiative, and we need more and more people in organization who should come up and talk about such issues. And this approach only is going to destigmatize the whole problems which are around mental health. So I always love to talk about mental health. This is my passion. And of course, Born Again is doing very good work. You should continue, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your insights. And finally, I'll quickly move to Ms. Pooja Talwar. Pooja, just you've done this before, but just another time.
Pooja, she's seeming so hungry. She's seeming so hungry for your bite. We've already taken it.
No, but I'm glad Born Again is doing that, because I really feel mental health needs to be addressed, because it's been stigmatized, something that's been brushed under the carpet and is spoken in whispers in corridors. Speak out. There's nothing wrong in being depressed and having chemical mental imbalance. It's okay. I mean, nobody's there to judge you. You're fine. And I'm glad Born Again is doing that, because this is a conversation that we really need to discuss. And it's high time it moves away from the drawing room and comes out in the open.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pooja. I will now move on to the Q&A session. And we have some very interesting questions from the audience who've been listening to all the panelists. So I think my first question would be, the question has been put across by Ms. Pavitra Saini, and it's for Mrs. Manju Rana. Pavitra asks that we all know that there are some positive effects of pandemic, but there are also, we cannot ignore the negative effects of it. which are more than the positive effects rather. What would you have to say about this, the impact of pandemic, again, the negative impact more than the
I
positive?
think any situation, you know, it has both positive as well as negative. And it depends on the kind of person you are. I'm a very positive person, so I take everything in my stride, you know, and I try to find out a solution if there is. You know, anybody who comes to my office, I always say, please don't come with a problem. I have enough of them, you know. So if you have a solution, come with that. Probably I'll get an answer to a lot of my questions also. So, well, yeah, we all are struggling, you know, through these times. These are very, very difficult times. And I think I would say, in context to the education, I think all the teachers have come out as warriors, I would say, to make sure that the learning doesn't even stop in this pandemic. I know they're all stressed out. They have families to take care. You know, the parents are there in the classroom. So it's like Pooja. It's like a production house. You know, the teachers have to learn to do a presentation. They need to be presentable themselves. They're all into the drawing rooms of the parents. So yeah, I mean, but I think I'm very, very proud of all my teachers, you know, who and all the teachers. It's not only in our own country, you know, all over the world. I think you know, they did come up to ensure that the learning at any stage doesn't stop. So I'm still very positive. So I'll not talk about negative. So yes, I mean, there are issues, but I'm sure we'll all strong enough to handle them.
Yeah, we'll overcome them for sure. And there's another question for you. It says, how is a child who has no access to, let's say, technology or laptop ever hope to develop a skill like coding compared to the privileged counterparts?
See, we need to understand that everybody has a phone, you know, and there is a lot of apps which are available, and a lot of recorded classes. Diksha is one huge portal that the NCERT is working on. So that is available. It is free of cost. It has got recorded session. So as and when the children get time, even in our schools, you know, when we have sessions in the live sessions in the morning, we do share recorded sessions to the parents. Everybody doesn't have, you know, a lot of devices at home. I'm also dealing with a lot of parents who can't afford to have about 2 devices at home. So we do share. So we have to look for an alternative. MHRD is planning to use television as one of the medium through which you know, all these classes can be conducted. So I'm sure you know, we will find that there are ways by which we will be able to reach each and every child, and which we are.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, ma'am. Next question is actually from Sarah Korean to Dr. Vibha Sharma. And he says that why has at houses become more critical than the situation before the outbreak, where socialization was rapid, whereas socialization is more impactful, especially in a teenager's life at the moment?
Yeah, so I would say that the negative impact, as we were talking about, one of the negative impact is isolation. So probably isolation has become very too much because everyone is staying at home. People cannot go for socialization. So that is the major issue which is coming up in people. So especially after being socially isolated, though people are interacting on social media platform, people are interacting through internet platforms, but still all that is only virtual reality, which is increasing, especially during those times and during these tough times. And even this is, I think, more on young people, adolescents, school, college students, they are not being able to go to school and colleges, not being able to meet friends for hangouts, and also they are feeling much more and more lonely and much low, I should say. So the only thing is, like, they have to accept it. They have to find out the ways they can do, like, virtual meetings like that with the friends, and they can plan for future. That's the only thing. We have to accept it and bear it. That's the only solution which is visible right now. We have to accept the current reality. We have to imbibe it, and we have to live with it. It is, and the only thing which like gives some relief is that we all are on the same boat.
Absolutely.
With one family or one society or one city, it is with all of us. So that gives a kind of relief that all of us are in the same boat. So probably, and this is not going to last forever, it will improve. So isolation is, I think, one of the biggest negative impact which has been shown through this epidemic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your answer. We have one question for Ms. Pooja Talwar from the audience. They say that when you are in a career that does not stop, when there's no pause, it's 24/7 career, how do you prioritize the mental balance in that situation? And what suggestions would you like to give to the young journalist?
You know, this is a tough one because I'm still trying to learn how to prioritize and maintain that professional personal balance and not take up too much upon myself. And I'm the classic case of somebody who mentally takes on a lot because I overthink, I overanalyze. Like if there's an interview I've done bad, I'll think for 3 days about how I could have done that. So that's something that I'm working upon myself. I just want to tell people, I mean, this is something actually, let me quote MS Dhoni. He's the one who told me this in an interview because I just told him we share the same birthday and how come you are so calm and I'm so hyper. So he said something that made a lot of sense to me. He's saying, control what you can control. You know, sometimes the controllables are in your hand. What's not in your control, let it be. Don't overthink, do your best. At that moment of what you think you've given your best, then back away. The results will come. It's not on your hand, control the results. So nowadays, I think people are far more savvy than my generation, yeah, when we just wanted to prove a point and we were just so in control freaks and, you know, just wanting everything to be perfect. Do your best and also know where you need to prioritize and draw that line. Take up just that much that you can do. You only have to prove to yourself. You don't need validation from the world. And my advice to young journalists is give it your best shot, be on top of your game, but not to the extent that it completely destroys you. Yeah, inme koi gold medal nahi deta hai. You are the one who will give yourself that medal. You have to prove only to yourself. Keep working upon yourself as a person. And at the end of the day, nothing is worth it over your mental peace. I have done it. I've realized nothing is worth it. It just makes you a bundle of nerves, destroys you. No one else comes to help you. You are your best friend and your worst enemy. Just control that mind, master the mind. Don't let it master you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You've very rightly said, you are your best, I think, judge to, give yourself that medal. Self-satisfaction, I think, is a very, very important thing that we all should believe in. And okay, so no, thank you so much, everyone. I would just like to pass on the floor to Devyani ma'am now, just for a quick vote of thanks before we end the session.
Thank you very much. I've been listening and absorbing, and honestly, I just moved off the structure, and there was so much being talked about in this entire discussion. And I think we had a very heart-to-heart discussion where everybody was so honest, and I'm sure the audience would have had a great takeaway. My last line, concluding the various high points that came, the last one I would start from where Pooja Talwar said that master the mind and don't let your mind master you. Excellent, very well said. And buy peace at any cost. That's very important.
It's just so true. Gold medal nahi mila mujhe. By work,
yes,
nahi mila mujhe. This only went for a toss.
Yeah. So very, very, it's so important that buy peace at any cost. That is most, and that is the mantra to your mental health well-being. Two, we had some great insights from Ms. Manju Rana, who told us about that it is very important to build in resilience, perseverance amongst the students and remain positive, and how the new education policy will lessen the burden on our students. To Ms. Varsha, who told us the benefits of following cognitive behavioral therapy and asking the parents to monitor their children or teachers to monitor their students closely, so that yes, they could identify if any red flag situations are. Finally, I would just in the end say that we have to teach our children how to love, how to bond, how to have healthy relationships, and how to get out of toxic and toxic situations. A tip to all the parents and teachers then would be, our relationship with them is the one they will always base their other relationships on. So let us not base our relationship on control and fear. With this, from bottom of my heart, I thank each one of you for gracing this panel. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.